Call the meeting to order.
Thank you.
Mr. Brett, would you give us an invocation this morning?
Certainly. Heavenly Father, I'd like to pray for peace this morning, for peace around the world, for peace here at home, for peace in our hearts as we start off this new year, for blessings for all of us, and for wisdom to continue to guide the paths of our students. We are always thankful for every blessing that you bestow on all of us. In your heavenly name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Preliminary matters. There's no presentations and resolutions. Dr. Law, I think there's someone that wanted to speak this morning.
Mr. McLeod just called. He is in transit. He's just a few minutes away. Can we take a couple of other items out of order? And when
Sure.
Mr. McLeod
You know, one of the
comes-
things I'd like to do, Dr. Law, is introduce our new board member and give him an opportunity to
have
say a
that-
few words this
I have that
morning.
listed under board chair matters.
Mr. Oliver? good
Thanks a lot,
morning and welcome.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I think, my bio, I think is available on the wall outside and in a couple of other places, so I won't go through all that. But what I will say is I appreciate the opportunity. I think I've served on a number of boards, both in the local area and in the Orlando area in the course of another job that I had. And we moved to St. Petersburg about 7 years ago and have looked to serve our community and try to make a positive contribution. That's really what I hope to do here. I think this is the first appointment that I've had from the governor to do anything, and I take that very seriously. And so to the board members, to the faculty, to the students, you know, my intent is to do the best job that I can. So I appreciate it. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Oliver, and welcome aboard.
Welcome.
I'm glad you're here. Served with you on a number of things, and I know when you say you take something seriously, you do that. So we really appreciate you being here. Dr. Law, is there
No,
any things after
I
that?
would like to recognize your contribution, though, Mr. Chairman. I know you have been tireless in your communications with the governor to help get these slots filled. And if he's still taking your calls, more credit to both of you. Okay, I know you've reached out any number of times to him. Thank you.
Hopefully we can get one more.
We have, I'm sorry.
You want to go down to the board member comments? Anybody have any comments?
No.
None? Miss?
None today.
My only comment would be to welcome Mr. Oliver. A great asset to our board, and I'm thrilled that you're here and looking forward to the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll hold my comments towards the end of the meeting. Review of the minutes, I need a motion to.
Motion to approve.
So moved and second that we accept the minutes from November 20th and the planning workshop from December 11th. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposing, we move forward.
Mr. Chairman, a point of order. I think I mentioned to you that we had a member of the public who wanted to address the board on the
I
Tarpon thing.
thought you were going to
Okay.
let go.
No, I've got 2 or 3 very minor matters under
ahead.
present stuff that can fill some time, and then wherever you would like to slot that one in. The item relates to the purchase at Tarpon.
I'd say do it now. Let's do it right
I
up
think
front.
so.
Yes, sir.
And want to do it right this minute?
Yes, sir. That's
Good.
fine.
Mr. Nick Balearis, a former member of this staff, had asked for a few minutes to appear before the board to speak.
Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year.
Good morning.
Happy New Year.
And thank you for the opportunity to share some thoughts. Just a little cheat sheet here that we can reference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
My purpose today is to share some thoughts with regards to the agenda item of selling a portion of the property at the Tarpon Springs campus. That the question is that we're looking at 9/10 of an acre. An acre is 43,000 square feet. 9/10 is about 39,000. So as I go through these comments and as you look at this item further down in the agenda, I'd like to suggest that you look at it as futurists, as visionaries, rather than considering the topic for the moment. Now, what will 39,000 square feet buy you? A classroom in size is 800 to 1,000 square feet. So 39,000 feet will pick you up about 40 classrooms on a one-story building. As we look at space, 2 stories begins to be the more appropriate choice. So you're looking at 80 classrooms. So that 9/10 of an acre provides the potential and opportunity for 80 classrooms. The average class size on campus, it's been a day or two since I've seen those numbers, somewhere between 22 and 25 students per class section. So the arithmetic problem says that for any 1 hour and you have 22 students in 80 classrooms, you're looking at being able to sit 1,600 students for that 1 hour. Scheduling opportunities are from Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes are generally 8 to 2, so you have 6, 7 scheduling periods. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, you're 8 to 12:45. In the evening, you're looking at a dinner hour time, 5 to 7, and an evening time, 7 to 10. So when you look at the multiple opportunities, that the number of students that potentially could be served on a semester by semester basis could venture into 1,000 plus as you look at the arithmetic problem. So the question now comes is, all right, we have the students in class, what does the revenue income side looks like? And looking at the process of financial productivity, it's a procedure that we used from the onset at the Tarpon Springs Center until I left, is we have 3 different levels of looking at financial productivity. The first level, which we call the first net, is direct income minus the instructor salary. Well, the income per student enrollment in a 3-credit course is approximately $1,000. Now, I derived that figure by looking at the out-of-state fees. Your out-of-state fee, according to the guidelines provided by the state, should reflect the full cost of instruction. The full cost of that figure is $372. I think that's what you charge for out-of-state fees. You multiply that by 3, you've got a $1,000 bill for one student enrolled in a 3-credit course. So if you have 20 students in the class, 22 students, 25 students in the class, the problem of income for that one section is a multiplier of $1,000 times, let's say it's a 25 class. So for one section, your income is $25,000. Now this is gross income at first net. So the instructor salary, I'm not aware of what faculty members are being paid. So I had did an approximation saying that a faculty member teaching 36 ECH or 12 sections during the course of an academic year, if he taught this one course and if he received a salary of $60,000 plus fringe benefits, which is about a third of that, so his salary base plus fringe would reflect to be about $80,000. So yeah, this would interpolate into about a $7,000 cost of the instructor salary. So here you have $25,000 in income minus the instructor salary, which gives you an $18,000 first net in income. Now naturally there's two other levels, which takes in the overhead of the campus overhead and then the college-wide overhead. But the point that I want to indicate here is that if you're looking at the number of sections that could be taught in a building, then it becomes a multiplier of, in this scenario, of $18,000 times each of those sections. So we're talking about potentially many thousands of dollars of potential income. Now, as visionaries, if this piece of property was sold, that you lose all of that potential. You lose the ability of servicing the number of students that would enroll, that a building containing either 40 or 80 classrooms would have. You'd miss the opportunity for the income that would be generated. And that's not on a one-time basis. Once the piece of property is sold, it's sold forever. You can never ask for that property back. So you basically have cut off all of the future that particular piece of property could provide. Now in 1970, at the January board meeting, the city fathers at Tarpon Springs was a community at that time of about 5,500 people in population. The movement in the community junior college sector nationally was storefront operations. Instead of everybody's got to come to campus, we're going to go out and meet the need of the students, which is probably the greatest movement that has occurred in this country. So the city fathers made a proposal to the president and the board of trustees. We will provide you free space if you will provide the instruction in Tarpon Springs. There a partnership came together. There was people both in Tarpon and at the college weren't quite sure about whether this was going to work or not. So in August, the agreement occurred in January, classes began in August, 152 students. By the end of the first year, enrollment exceeded the projection the college had set up 5 years out. All of the space available in Tarpon Springs was used for classrooms. The second year, because of the demand, we went to areas that we had serviced, the students we'd serviced. Classes were held in Brooksville, Dade City, and Newport Richey. And from the success of those initiatives emerged Pasco Hernando Community College. Fortuitous, the Rotary Club in Tarpon Springs had a building, 5,000 square feet. We'll provide it to you for legal purposes at $1 a year. One of the city commissioners paid the dollar to make sure that the pledge held that there would be no charge to the college. Within 3 years, we outgrew that facility. So we've used every space, hospitals, schools, meeting rooms in Tarpon Springs. Who would have thought? So in the 4th year, the president with the board of trustees says, start looking for property. Well, the most obvious piece of property is the property that the campus is sitting on. Eugene Werner, a housing developer, said, I've got 145 acres, I'll sell it to you for $2,000 an acre. Well, the concept of 145 acres is overwhelming. Here you have a neophyte program, and now you're going to buy 145 acres? So the college said, well, we need to think about it and process it. 2 months later, the decision was, well, let's get 50 acres. Well, the price for 50 acres went to $6,500 an acre. So here we were, could have bought 145 acres. That would have been from 19 to Innisbrook, from Klosterman Road to Glen Eagles. So we had 50 acres, $6,500 an acre, that's $325,000, versus we could have gotten 145 acres for $2,000. You're thankful for what you get, and the program moved on, and we moved on to the campus in Tarpon in 1975. Each year, our enrollments exceeded the projections set by the college and forecasted by people at the state level. So again, we were in search for more teaching space. The portables came in. We're in search for more teaching space. We went to Oldsmar at Canal Park, and we set up classrooms there. And the 90s was a banner year for the Tarpon Springs campus. In the 90s, we had the Lipa Ratner Museum. Who would have thought? A museum on campus at Tarpon. We had the opportunity from Westfield, because when the college bought its 50 acres, Westfield Homes, they bought the strip to the south of the campus. Walmart said, we're going to go into the Sam's business. So they bought the section of the property to the east of the campus. So in the process, the opportunity came to get 18 acres from Westfield because of a basketball court. Then we were in a Walmart sold to Dovatron, a chip maker. We were in a partnership, business industry education partnership, very positive, and our feeling was we'd love to have this building. Well, when the corporate changes came, the call came, the building's available, so we bought the 18 acres for $1 million. We got the opportunity to buy what was Dovatron for $6 to $7 million. And the only thing that was that's left out of the complete package is that filling station. I don't know whether it's a Standard Oil station. So we have, in order to complete what we originally could have had in 74, is that station. Now, who would have thought that here you start off with 152 students, you use all the space available in Tarpon, you're in Pasco Hernando County. Now you come onto 50 acres, you outgrow the 50 acres. So now we're in the opportunity of, we expand to add the education building from a 2-year college, now we've expanded to a 4-year college. As visionaries, that's the role, that's where your charge is. You're the guardians of the college, not only in present time, but in the future time. So if anybody had made a firm decision saying, that's it, at any point along the way, you wouldn't be where you are today on that campus. The enrollment on that campus, I would surmise that it's approximately 6,000 to 7,000 students, maybe 5. That's somewhere in that range. That's as much or more than what the city of Tarpon Springs had in total population at the time when they made that offer that you can't refuse. I don't know of any other city in the country that's duplicated that initiative. That's how strongly they felt. So here you are in your ultimate wisdom is, do we make a decision to give up a part of what took us 34 years to accumulate? For what, I don't know what the business is, I don't know who's interested in it, other than you're in an educational institution where people hunger for knowledge, they thirst for knowledge. It's like Niagara Falls, the water at Niagara Falls hasn't dried up in how many years? There will be people that continue to seek. The area grows. That campus is land-bound. On the north side, you have Klosterman Road. You can't go north. On the east side, you have US 19. You can't go east. On the south side, you have Holmes. You can't go south. And on the west side, you have Innisbrook, and I don't think Innisbrook's going to give you part of their golf course for you to get over into Innisbrook. So you're bound by the land, not by the need. So my recommendation is, my desire would be, as you search your role and your wisdom, is to keep the options open for the growth. Who knows what the growth is going to be? It may never grow another student. Enrollments may decline, but the options are there. When you take that away, you're not paying taxes on the property. You do have to cut the lawn and you do have to paint the existing buildings. But for that particular piece, a parking lot, parking space runs $1,000 to $1,500 for flat parking. So part of the proposal, as I understand, is, well, we're going to build you some parking spaces on the property you currently own, which you will lose for instructional purposes. We'll move that over. Well, for what? If you got 50 parking spaces, I don't know what you're going to get. 50 parking spaces, that's $50,000. That's one time, it's over. If they give you $400,000, you'll spend that on something, a very worthy item. But when that's gone, it's gone. And the property's gone. You basically eliminate the future of that piece of property serving whatever the needs are for the college. So, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Billers. Mr. President, I'll give you the opportunity to respond if you'd like.
No,
or-
why don't we just take it up during the discussion? We've got graphics and
Perfect.
other kinds of things. I think Mr. Billers, nobody
Thank
knows
you,
more
Mr.
about it than he
Billers.
does.
Thank you so much for the
Thank you
history.
for your time.
We appreciate it. Mr. McLeod's here now,
That'd
if
be
you'd like to
great.
move
We'll
forward with that
revert
as
to the order
well.
of business.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Law. I'm Frances New, Vice President for Institutional Advancement and Foundation Executive Director, and I'm pleased to make a special presentation to you this morning. Mr. Bill McLeod is Senior Vice President of Veolia Transportation. Veolia is the operator of several modes of transportation in North America. The parent company is located in Paris, France, and has operations in over 68 countries around the globe. Mr. Bill McLeod is a member of the Foundation Board of Directors. He's also president of the Gibbs Junior College Alumni Association and is a member of the St. Petersburg College Alumni Association. About a year ago, Bill and his wife Elaine partnered with Veolia Transportation to create a $50,000 scholarship for students participating in our STEM programs, that's science, technology, math, and engineering. We are very, very grateful not only for Mr. McLeod's financial support, but for his leadership on our board and his work in this community. And before I bring him up here, I'd also like to note Bill was one of 7 people recognized nationally last fall by the Council of Resource Development as a benefactor. So now I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Bill McLeod.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
To the chairman, this honorable board, Dr. Law, Frances New, she works here. She works here. I am privileged and honored to be here today, just to share with you the importance of being part of the community and giving back, and understanding the critical need for education. As I travel around the globe, I understand that education is the window to opportunity, and the United States is going to have to compete on a global basis in order to be successful. The community college really is a great foundation, and it has the flexibility and mobility to do the things that can get people to work quickly. And I think this is a tremendous role that you play in understanding this goal. And as the president has said, the community college is going to help this country get back on its feet in terms of employment. So again, I am honored and privileged to be a part of the St. Petersburg College family, and it has been a really interesting road for me to come back after 30 years away. This young man here, his mom went to college at Gibbs Junior College. We're privileged at Gibbs Junior College to have initiated an endowment. We have given over 45 scholarships in that program, and we're looking forward to doing more. We appreciate your support, and I'm honored and privileged to be here this morning. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Mr. McLeod.
Thank you.
Board members?
In recognition of Mr. McLeod's time that he spends with us, we have this little gift that we'd like to give him, and Casey is available.
We're going to take a picture just a second. I think the chairman has a couple
I just want to make
comments.
sure the board members didn't have any comments to Mr. McLeod or Ms. New. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your generosity and your service not only to this college but to our community, and we really appreciate you being here this morning. Thank you,
sir.
Mr. McLeod, thank you for being a mentor, a friend, and a lot of other things to a young guy who is, just trying to make it in the world. And the things you've done since you've been back here have been phenomenal. I mean, I think we have a critic in Miss Bessie Kearns in everything we do. And I think Ms. Kearns best said to me a couple months ago that Gibbs Junior College is back on track. They're a partner with St. Pete College, and that's really what we intended to do. And thanks to you and Dr. Law and some other folks, Francis, we have really partnered, and I think we're making great strides for young people in this community, and you have been a big part of that. So thank you for everything you've done, and we really appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Good. Let's take a picture.
I think we'll get the whole.
Yeah, let's get the whole board. That'd be good.
Now I won't have any excuse about being
Any other members?
I've got a couple of
Go ahead, Dr.
minor
Law.
matters. J.R. Langes from our classified staff employees council is here today. J.R., step forward. I think he has an invitation to all of you, okay?
It's the first time I've been to a board meeting in about a year and a half. I'll be back for my retirement.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, I've had the pleasure to sit in on the Career Service Employee Council Committee that Dr. Law started a couple years ago.
Okay.
And the second year, I actually got nominated to be the vice chair. That was great because I told Teresa, I said, you're the chairperson, just don't get sick in any board meetings, you know. And so far, she did a great job at that. But then when I came up with pretty good at coming up with suggestions. And when you do, if they like it, they say, go with that. Well, you know, I read the Blue and White, and they have an emeritus luncheon and, you know, program for faculty. And I see it's about time we have an emeritus award for career service people. So this week, we're going to do that. We'll have our first emeritus luncheon for career service employees. We've invited 10 of them back. And, you know, we're looking forward to a real, you know, good time. And of course, that can't happen without help from others. And I don't want to forget the people that helped us, you know, put this thing on. First off, the foundation. Francis was just up here. And Francis, without you and Christy, this wouldn't be possible. They're, you know, tremendous help. Patty Jones and the HR, her staff, you know, helped us with getting some phone numbers and things like that. Casey's here today taking pictures, and she'll be at our event and doing that as well. So the real reward of this will be looking at these 10 people that come back and knowing that they're not forgotten. They were here, helped build the foundation of what the college really is. And before I forget, I personally want to you know, welcome the new board member. Appreciate you taking that challenge on. And all of the board members for the things that you do for us. So, you know, I think we're a great college, and we couldn't do it without your help as well. But this is the award that we're going to be giving out. I like that cobalt blue. I think it goes, you know, real well. And people back here can see it. This is for Pete Phillips. He's one of the people that'll be here tomorrow. I don't know how many of you remember Pete Phillips. 45 years as a career service employee. Started out working in the kitchen at St. Pete Gibbs, and he was a very good cook, by the way. I loved his pies, and it shows. But yeah, seeing Pete, and the college used to have a nurse too, so we're having one of the nurses back. But that'd be the real treat in this whole thing, is seeing some of them come back and know that we haven't forgotten them. And you know, hope that anybody can, you guys can make it there. We'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Chairman.
you very much.
Mr. Chairman, just let me take a second. We opened our brand-new building on campus this week. We have some pictures. Stan, give us, this is going to take 1 minute. Stan's going to give us his best 1 minute here. We'll hold a meeting up there as soon as events permit.
Wow. Nice.
Well, first, I want to thank you for this building. It's really been a change in the dynamics on the campus. It will enable us to eliminate 17 portables that were placed temporarily on the campus last century.
Hey, Dr. Locke, can you get Kim Burke to cut the ribbon on this building?
The portables are going to Tarpon, though, okay? I promise those to come
I don't know,
from me,
Burke
but-
might want to use them for his, for the clerk's office.
For the clerk's office, okay.
It was very gratifying.
Look
We
at
opened
that.
the building Monday of last week at 7 o'clock. Students began migrating to the various student areas in the building, opened their laptops, hooked up to the wireless, and started to work without any coaching at all. So the building is inviting to students, which is what we were hoping. It has 26 classrooms. We tried to build it as generic as possible, knowing that we don't know what the technology will be 5 years from now. We're not 100% sure what our building needs will be, but we put a number of different size classrooms in there, from 40 seats to 60 seats. We have 100-seat classroom in there. We allowed for the upgrading of technology. We're at Cat 6 now, and who knows what will be in 5 years, but the building is designed so we can replace that technology with the latest stuff when it comes up. You'll see classrooms here. One floor is equipped with data and powered to the desktop for the people who need heavy computer use. The other floors have flexible classrooms where the furniture can be moved around to do group works and project-type things that the faculty and our employers are asking students to do. I don't know if we could go back to the lobby picture for just a second. I'm sorry, I kind of talked through that, but you'll notice that one of the most prominent features of the building is a very open lobby. That's equipped with a lot of additional equipment in the food service area so that we can expand that substantially. That's been a concern of mine for some time because we do have students who are spending a lot more time on campus than in the past, particularly our dual credit students who are there all day, and we need a somewhat expanded food service to serve them. I don't know if I've exceeded my 1 minute yet. I could probably give you an entire morning, but we are very excited about the building. I do want to thank you for your support. It really will change the dynamics of the campus. It's clearly becoming the hub on that end of the campus, and eventually will open up a dynamic across the campus to the new library, which we're putting on the property that we acquired from the United Faith Methodist Church on the northwest corner.
Excellent. Board members?
Good work.
Beautiful. Thank you.
For reference purposes, Mr. Chairman, this building is 3 stories, 45,000 square feet. That should sound familiar. That's
How many classrooms?
essentially. This has 26 classrooms.
Wow.
The facility at Midtown will have a little less than that because it has to host some of the other services, okay? But it's a significant footprint and capacity, and I think you see how nicely laid out, so. Good, thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we are awaiting any day the details of the governor's budget. I think it has to be done by the end of the month. This governor likes to kind of roll out to get the buzz off it. We thought we might have something. I met with the governor's staff just before the holidays. Everybody's cautious, but saying nice things about the Florida college system, so we'll just keep you informed on that. And then we have been touching base. The trustees are invited. The Florida Trustees Conference is first week in February 4th and 5th, I think, or 5th and 6th. And you do have an invitation to the governor's mansion on the evening of the 5th, okay? That conference has, if you can get in your schedule, it's getting increasingly worthwhile. Chance to be at the governor's mansion if you've not had that opportunity, and to be with the governor is always a good opportunity, so that's it. Mr. Chairman, that concludes the issue.
Dr. Law, I do have one question. I was reading I left it in the car, reading in the Florida Trend. There are some colleges in Florida that are ranked amongst the top community colleges in the country, and we weren't in there, and I'm wondering what happened. Not that we did, because I'm sure that was an error on somebody's part.
I'll go through. It only takes a second because I'll be as gentle as I know how. Okay. The Aspen Institute is the sponsoring agency,
Sure.
and they have run this now for 2 years. Right about the time I arrived here, they announced the competition for the identification, and it's a lengthy process. Mr. Chairman, the most important thing is the essence of what they were doing was that you had to demonstrate the use of data and information to drive decisions and to monitor changes. That had not been our strongest suit over a long period of time. So we would not have been able to compete at the front door for those colleges, and it pained me because I know what we're doing is every bit what they're doing. Documenting it is a different matter for us. We are in the process of aligning to get in there for that competition.
Sure.
We can do that now.
I only asked that question. I ran into Jackson Sasser, and he made it very clear.
As luck would have it, my two best friends are the two presidents who have won it, okay? And they still remain best friends.
All right. We've already reviewed and approved the minutes, so we can move to Mr. Lang. Is there any report?
Mr. Chairman, I have nothing to report.
Ms. Gardner?
Mr. Chair, I have nothing to report.
And I guess we're down to Dr. Nicotera. Good morning. Happy New Year. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Law. Mr. Oliver, welcome from the faculty and staff at the Health Education Center. We're glad to have you.
Thank you very much.
This morning, I'm going to talk a little bit about specialized accreditation. The overall college is accredited by the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, which is a regional accrediting body. However, 12 of our 15 health programs have specialized or programmatic accreditation, and so what's the importance of this and why do we do this? These accrediting bodies provide us with specific standards in these professional fields. And these are standards about curriculum, number of hours for clinical training, how we do clinical training, what is our faculty preparation in terms of, what type of degrees and level of degrees do they need. They present or they give us benchmarks for retention of students, graduation rates, and pass rates on our licensure exams. And so why do we jump through all of these hoops? Why do we want to do this? For two reasons. The students, because it ensures students that want to enter our programs that they're going to get a quality education that meets national standards and that they're going to be out there with the skills that are necessary to join the workforce. And then secondly, for the employers, because they know that a student that graduates from our program is work ready with the skills that they need. And I have one other slide that I'm going to show you, and it lists all of the specialized accrediting groups that we belong to for each program. And you'll see the first, or the last two columns to the right will show you last time we were accredited and then when our next reaccreditation visit is. So they come on campus and they make sure that we're doing and meeting the standards that the accrediting body set forth. So if you kind of quickly scan down the list, you can see that the average accrediting period is about 6 to 7 years. And if you look at the last column, you can see that just about every year we have an accreditation visit on campus. With the exception of 2014, I think we're going to get a little bit of a break. So any questions about specialized accreditation that I could help you with?
Nothing here.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I should tell you that, and we pass on the accreditation reports, but everyone since I've been here has been at the highest possible, a stellar rating of the accrediting agencies, with commendations where permissible, with side comments where their professional standards don't allow it. Dr. Nicotera and his team have done an outstanding job in this. The quality of the programs is not something you should have on your worry list.
Thank you. Good
Thank
morning.
you, Dr. Nicotera.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Dr. Steele. Good morning, Dr. Steele.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
This morning I've chosen to feature our fine visual arts program and the relation of arts to student success, highlighting just a few of the many examples. Rachel Vanneman, top left on your slide here, is a student working in the ceramics lab at Clearwater campus. Her work has been featured in the Student Ceramics and Printmaking Show for the past 2 years, and she's established her own River Mist studio for ceramic arts. On the top right is the work of Josh Stover, another ceramic artist who graduated from SPC and then went to the University of Florida and earned a Bachelor of Fine Arts. Josh was awarded the Fogelberg Fellowship, which is a paid fellowship to work at the Northern Clay Center in Minneapolis. Josh's work is seen in numerous high-profile exhibitions around the United States. Bottom left is an oil painting of Peter Abrami. After SPC, Peter earned a Bachelor of Fine Arts from USF. He worked at the USF Contemporary Art Museum and is now a Master of Fine Arts candidate at the University of Texas in Austin. In 2013, his work will be shown in 2 solo exhibitions, which means he's the featured artist in these exhibitions at both the Atlantic Center for the Arts and at Pasco Hernando Community College. On the bottom right, you see an image from our recent printmaking lab at Clearwater campus, where we brought in the printmaking artist Sean Star Wars, who was also brought in by Lipa Ratner. So that's his stage name. I don't know his real name, but he's internationally known, and he did a wonderful lab engaging our students there. As you can see, even Stan and I got in the act with the apron there. And the next day at Lipa Ratner, he worked with the students there. Tremendous success. As you see in the next slide, I won't go through each of those, but you can read them. Numerous studies have shown a positive correlation between arts education and many, many positive transferable skills. Also in the area of business, recent study showed that despite the slowing economic situation in our country in 2010, the arts industry generated $135.2 billion, that's with a B, $billion of economic activity in a down economy. In your hands, you have a journal which features our brilliant SPC faculty right alongside of all the professional artists in Tampa Bay. I'm extremely proud of all our fine arts faculty around the college, and they're the ones that make the student successes possible. You also have a view book produced by our marketing department that features our arts programs, gives an overview, and a flyer that shows some of the upcoming events, including a showstopper printmaking show in our Clearwater Gallery right now. We are all very, very thankful for the high level of support provided for the arts by President Law and members of this board. It's an investment in students that pays dividends throughout their entire lives. Are there any questions? Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Steele. Dr. Mercadante. Good morning.
Good
Happy
morning,
New Year to
Mr.
you.
Chair. Happy New Year. Members of the board, Dr. Law, Mr. Oliver, welcome. The faculty looks forward to working with you. I'm Rich Mercadante, President of the Faculty Senate. I wanted to update you basically on something we did last Friday regarding the reduction of 36 general education credits to 30. Just a brief history. Last spring, the legislature mandated that we need to reduce from 36 credits to 30 our general education requirements, and this is for all state colleges and universities in Florida. There's a state committee that will decide the first 15 credits, and then each individual college or university has to decide the second 15 credits. So that's the process we're in right now. Last Friday, we got together in the collaborative lab, and we had about 90 people show up, and we all discussed what are the values of general education for St. Petersburg College. And we had all the deans present, we had faculty representing all of the general education categories and many other disciplines as well. It was a great interactive opportunity and a great collaborative effort between faculty administration. And basically what we tried to come up with is some sort of value statement that will guide our committee that will eventually decide what the second 15 credits are. Whenever you basically get 90 or so people in a room and ask them to come up with one sentence, you get a really long sentence. So let me put it up on the screen for you. We tried to capture everything we wanted to as far as the general education values that we identified. So let me just read this out loud here. St. Petersburg College's well-rounded general education curriculum and passionate quality faculty provide a foundation for active lifelong learning, local and global civic engagement, personal and professional success for a diverse student population through ethical behavior, communication, and critical thinking skills. You know, in short, we want a well-rounded student. We want to make sure they have it all. The next step in this process is a college-wide survey, so all stakeholders can give input into the process. Then we will have a committee from faculty and administration decide what our second 15 credits will be, and then ultimately in April, we hope to have this problem resolved. This would go in implementation for the fall 2014 semester. So that's where we're at with the 3630 reduction. Be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Questions? Thank you, Dr. Mercadante.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very helpful.
Dr. Law, any more?
No, thank you very much. That was
Moving right
quite
on to new business, student success and achievement, information item.
Yeah, we had occasion, as part of the orientation, we met with Mr. Oliver yesterday, but just, again, in the framework, in January and in August, we tend to take a little time, who's here, and then we're following a cohort through. Dr. Coraggio and Dr. Renard are our usual suspects on this, and it is interactive. I want to be sure Mr. Fine and Mr. Oliver stop at any point, ask questions. If we jump ahead, please make it worthwhile for everybody.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Dr. Law.
Good morning.
Welcome, Mr. Oliver. As Dr. Law mentioned, this is a time of year where we provide kind of a framework for our enrollment. Who's here? So you're going to see really three quick overviews of our enrollment this morning. Who's here as of opening day last week? We started classes for the spring term. Then we're going to look at the first time in college cohort that was here that started last week. Excuse me. And then we're going to go back and look at the fall 2010 first time in college cohort. Jesse?
Well, I want to start by saying happy birthday. Business intelligence is now a year old. It was just 1 year ago that we presented this system that we've created to the board, and the first time that it ever went public. What you see up there is the screen view of the business intelligence system within our SharePoint site, and that's how everybody has access to it. You can see we've changed the name. We've rebranded it. It's now called Pulse. And our focus for the name is it's really about the vital signs of the organization. And here we have a number of other dashboards that we've since created since the last time we showed it to the board. And we're going to walk through those today. And as everyone knows, this is interactive. This is live data out of our system that we're going to be walking through and sharing. So to start talking about enrollment, let's go to a new dashboard we created. And this was actually at the request of the board. The first dashboard we created focused on unduplicated student headcount. This dashboard actually looks at enrollment from a different perspective. It looks at it through student semester hours. So we're going to start here, look at a couple different views, and then we'll go back to the unduplicated student headcount information that we traditionally look at. So student semester hours.
So student semester hours is the sum of all the credit hours that our students are enrolled in. And as of opening day last week, we had 268,000 credit hours compared to last year opening day at 275,500 credit hours. So we had a decrease of 2.7% in terms of total student semester hours for the spring opening day.
Business intelligence is basically made up of views, reports, if you will, dynamic reports, and we're going to switch to another one here to look at some of our breakdown by upper division and lower division enrollment.
Okay, this view allows us to look at campus data as well as lower division and upper division. And you can see there, lower division we had 236,130 student semester hours, and upper division was 31,923. If we compare that to last year, we had a decrease in lower division of 2.8% in lower division student semester hours, and a decrease of 1.9% in our upper division baccalaureate student semester hours.
I'm going to switch over now, and we're going to look at the unduplicated student headcount information through another dashboard that we have. There we go. So the very first view we're going to look at is overall information for unduplicated student headcount.
The data that we're showing you, as Jesse mentioned, is unduplicated student headcount. But keep in mind, we're only looking at credit students. We're not looking at any of the non-credit corporate training or lifelong learning type of enrollment. So if we look at the total number of students that were here last Monday, opening day, we had 31,429 students compared to last year at opening day, 31,645. We had 216 fewer students enrolled opening day, which is a decrease of 0.7%.
And through enrollment status, now we can look at a different view of the data from the perspective of the course enrollment that individual students had, their course load. So we're going to look at full-time, part-time student enrollment. Full-time here is defined as those students that have 12 or more credit hours.
Okay, you can see that our part-time enrollment was up and our full-time enrollment was down. This is the same phenomenon that we saw in the fall, which is indicative that more students are transitioning out of that full-time status down to the part-time status. The full-time enrollment was down 8.8% opening day, and the part-time enrollment was up 3.0% opening day.
Our next view is going to look at enrollment type for the students. So we're going to look at some more student characteristics. These are how the students come into the institution. The center group represents new students. That's both first-time and college students and new transfer students to St. Petersburg College. Then we have continuing students who have been enrolled at least one term in the last year or the last 3 terms, and readmit students who have not been enrolled at least once in the last 3 terms and are returning back to the college.
And as the bar charts show, for continuing students and readmitted students, we're virtually flat. Where we are suffering is in the new student population. We're down 4.9% in brand new students this spring.
Many of our students here at the institution use financial aid to support themselves while they're here at the institution. So these stacked bar charts show us that information for those that were offered financial aid at the beginning of the term versus those that were not offered. The ones that were not offered could have either been they haven't gotten their paperwork or everything at that point, or they're choosing not to use financial aid to pay for their education.
Okay, we had a 3% decline in the number of students that were receiving financial aid when the term began. 18,590 compared to 19,159. Proportionately, it's about the same. Last year, it was 60% of our students had received financial aid opening day, and it's just over 59% proportionally this spring.
The next 2 views are going to be a few demographic factors to describe our students. So the very first one we're looking at is race, ethnicity. These are basically the standardized federal reporting categories under that area.
Okay, you can see there's some categories with very, very small numbers, but if we look at the 4 main categories, Asian students, we saw a 3.4% increase in Asian students over last spring. Hispanic Latino students growing rapidly, 13% growth in Hispanic Latino students. Our Caucasian students were down 2%, and our African American students were down 1.7% overall last spring.
Now we're going to look at 4 different age categories. So we're going to break out those students according to their incoming age, 21 under, 22 to 25, 26 to 35, and then 36 and older.
21 and under, we're essentially flat. We had about 50 students fewer than last spring. 22 to 25, we had some growth, a modest growth, 2.4% increase in that age bracket, which is unusual. That's the growth. That's the segment that we've really been trending down in recent terms. 26 to 35, we were down 3%, and the 36 and over down 1%.
Now the power of BI, and if we had the time, I could talk about business intelligence all day long.
No.
Obviously, we don't. But we've gone through some of these views and looked at the characteristics. But the filters and the combination of the views is what makes BI so powerful. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to switch over. We're going to look at a subset of students and look at a couple different noteworthy views. This is first time in college. So these are students that come to the college for the first time after high school. So what we're not including those is those that are currently dual enrolled, but they would be counted as they came to the college after graduating high school.
All right, opening day, we had 1,241 brand new first time in college students here at St. Petersburg College this year compared to 1,342 FTIC last spring. So a decline of 101 students, which is a 7.5% decrease.
So now we'll look again at enrollment status. So we're going to look at the course load with those students. Again, full-time is 12 or more credit hours.
In the part-time category, the decline was modest at 2.6%, but we had a 15.7% decline in our full-time status. Somewhat replicates the same view that we saw overall, except in overall part-time students were up slightly.
And now we'll look at student race ethnicity categories, the same categories, federal reporting categories we just looked at a little while ago, but specifically for the first time in college students.
Okay, if you look at the 4 main categories, again, Asian students, we're seeing an increase of about 16%, although the numbers are very small. It only increased by 5 students, from 30 to 35, brand new first time in college students, Asian students, this spring over last spring. Hispanic Latino, an increase of 11%. It went from 157 brand new Hispanic Latino students to 174 students this spring. Caucasian, we're down 5.5%.
African-American males were down significantly at 27%.
What are the numbers on the African-American males, Patrick?
Yes, 318 last spring compared to 233 this spring.
And that's overall?
Overall,
African-American
FDIC African-American student.
Let's look at age for our first-time in college students. Again, there are 4 categories.
In the 21 and under, we see a decline of about 6%. We see a modest growth of 1% in the 22 to 25-year-old category, and we see a 14% decline in the 26 to 35-year-olds, and a 12% decline in the 36 and older.
And now I'm going to switch over to gender, and we're going to actually focus specifically on the African-American male cohort and look at those numbers. And this is a population we've had some specific strategic initiatives on this group of students to help improve success.
In the female, African-American females that are brand new to the college this spring, we see a decline of 22%. And in the African-American males, we see a decline of 34.7%.
That's from last semester to this semester?
That's
Does that decrease happen from students not returning?
No, this is not retention. This is brand new students here this spring.
That are starting this spring?
Starting this spring.
Okay.
Compared to the students that we had a year ago spring. So
How many
it's spring to spring comparison.
Yes, so it's apples to apples.
Yeah.
No.
And we are going to look at retention in just a minute in our next presentation.
Just, we're starting to dig in. We just found out yesterday. But was there an age profile on I'm just, we don't know who's not here. I mean, this is why we do this, to say who didn't come. And age would be the next thing. Is it younger students? Is it mid-career students? Is it the 22 to 25?
Looks like the older students went back to work and are not coming back.
Yeah, that's...
The 22 to 25 increased probably because they're working and going to school.
That's why I want to look at this group.
The one group that didn't have much of a change was the 36 and older group, and they were only a difference of 3%. When we look at 21 under, it was 40% down, 22 to 25 was 32% down, and 26 to 35 was 46% down. So I think work may very well be one of the potential reasons.
Be careful of the numbers. 40% down is 57 to 44. Okay, so it's not, but the trend is not where we want it to be. Something is there.
The percentages make it sound higher than what it really is.
Yeah, there's something here, though, that all of a sudden this cell pops up with, it's screaming that these students didn't show
The other interesting dynamic was the workforce was only down 9%. Those either pursuing an AS degree or a certificate. Those pursuing an Associates of Arts degree was down 53%.
Question on the data. You're only showing two years, I guess, and I guess that goes back. The system's only is a year old. Do we have access to go further back?
We have in our data warehouse or cubes. We can go all the way back to 1927.
Because I'm not sure 2 years makes a trend to get alarmed about. That 3 years, 3 to 5 years, something like that, maybe something better to look at. I mean, these reductions look pretty dramatic, but if we looked at it over 5 years, would we see this trend over that same period of time, or just over the last 2 years?
No, I think you would see a much more positive trend.
Yeah.
The alarming for some of us who've dealt with it, all of a sudden it stops. So that's why the red light that we're looking at. But I think your case is a very, very valid one, Mr. Oliver.
I would also think that if you look at the trends of commerce, when money started to be spent again, people are going back to work, and that feels that they weren't before. But yeah, I would agree with you on that deal. That it's not. I wouldn't get alarmed right now. If this continues though, without relying, of course we get. I will tell you that I think, Mr. Oliver, going forward, you'll probably see that the retention rate has gotten higher amongst a lot of minorities and other students, because we've, over the last 2 to 3 years, have really been focused on making sure that their experience is our #1 priority, keeping them here, tutoring, some other things, learning labs, that kind of stuff. So we've really been focused. I think as they go through this a little more, you'll see the retention has gone up more than, probably than enrollment.
In fact, that may be a better case for the overtime, because
Yeah.
this semester is, again, the numbers are not exactly where we want them. But let's go through it and keep asking.
One other
great
question.
questions.
Do we have do the other colleges have this similar data where we're able to benchmark and see if, are we alone in this, or are we seeing this across the entire college spectrum?
We can benchmark, ours, of course, is real-time data,
Right.
and that is, if I say unique to us, it's pretty close to unique to us. We can get trend over time, and we generally talk to you that all colleges are down a little bit, all colleges are up, the averages, and we'll do that. You know, we care a great deal about our students. If we're down and everybody else, if we're up and everybody's down, it's never up enough. We want to keep doing that. But we can pull data from other institutions. It lags. It will not be real-time data. We can't get this spring's data from everybody.
Okay.
That's not available.
I have another question. As this is a college overall, could you speak to the various campuses?
Yeah.
I mean, we're.
Jump back.
Yeah.
Sure.
Switch it back to the
Yeah, I can go. I'm going to switch out of this particular dashboard. It doesn't have a
I mean, if
nice
it's,
clean view.
I mean, you
of
can
it.
speak to it
But
too,
we
if
can-
it's just the
yeah,
average,
sure.
but is there one?
We can
that's
look, this
specifically
dash,
down?
that one looks at it per day, so it's looking at opening day information. This next dashboard I'm going to bring up focuses more on the entire term, so we can go into it anytime we want and see where we are up to that day. So it'll be a little bit more current in terms of the data that we're looking at. But we can come in here and look at and actually break this information out to specific campuses. And it'll allow us to go in there and look at, you know, we can look at where we are. Let's pick our bigger campuses. We'll start with St. Pete Gibbs, and we can look at our trend. So we're down just a tad on that. And then
So
we-
if you roll over, it was 8791 to 8604, is that the?
8791, yep. Then we can look at our Clearwater campus.
Is there a way that you can put all the campuses up and
The SSH one, the one you showed already?
Yes, I can, yep.
There's a view where we can show you the student semester hours by campus.
Okay.
Yep. Let me change our filters. So this is looking at student semester hours in a comparison of each of the individual campuses and in terms of our upper and lower division. Now, this isn't going to show.
Yeah, but it doesn't tell us the
show
change
the
year
comparable
over
of
year.
last year. And
We'll produce a report
Yeah.
and send it out
I just
Friday.
wondered, when
Yeah.
you went through it, is there
Yeah.
any noticeable, or is it just basically it's fairly similar on
There's
all
little,
campuses?
when you anytime we break it down into smaller chunks, there's some noticeable differences. We're down a little bit here. Actually, enrollment-wise, we're up here at the epicenter because we're moving a lot of enrollment to our College of Business and College of Computer and Information Technology. So there's some movement across campuses that have an impact when you're looking at campus by campus. I think we're down a little bit in our St. Pete Gibbs campus. We're down just a tad in Clearwater and Seminole. I think Seminole's pretty flat. Tarpon Springs a tad down.
We'll make a display that does
Yeah,
just
but
what you
we
want
can-
there. We can pull that. It's
We can
just a
certainly do that.
little bit of work.
Okay, if we could switch over, and we'll just kind of real quick run through some summary information.
So in summary, for all students, our head count is down less than SSH. Head count was down just under 1%. SSH was down just under 3%. Part-time is up, full-time is down. That's a phenomenon that we've now seen 2 terms in a row. Lower division, we're down 2.8. Upper division down just under 2. As we look at the types of students, the new students is where we're really struggling, trying to get new students in the door. The continuing and readmitted students are flat. Yes.
Dr. Renard, instead of giving us the percentages, what's the real numbers? We're down how many students in lower division? How many upper division and new students?
I don't have head count for lower division, upper division. I have student semester hours.
Okay.
I do have the head count for new and readmitted and continuing.
Okay, that's fine. I just think sometimes when you say 2.8 or 3% or 2% or 4.9%, it really, like Dr. Hall said earlier, it really doesn't show. If someone's listening from the general public, they'll think we're down 5%, but when you really look at it, we are down 5%, but when you look at the numbers, it's really not as much as what people think that we're down. I think the trend is that some people went back to work, they're gonna figure out they're stuck, they're flat, and they're gonna come back, probably in the fall. So I'd really, if you could you send that around to the board members?
We'll
just so
give
they
you
can- Yeah.
both.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
we
just-
got to
'cause I
have
think
both to
sometimes
produce
we
one
get
of
caught
them.
up on that
You're right.
percentage, Dr. Law.
Sure.
And it's not really reflective of what's happening.
Like many of you, though, when I get the reports, I read from bottom right to top left, the impact is about $500,000 in tuition. And that's a real number. Whether it's more students taking fewer courses or fewer students taking fewer courses, we're off by about $500,000 in that. The other piece, though, that we want to give you, and if I knew the answer, I've forgotten it, because it's so tight at the start of the semester, in the spring semester, we tend to have a pretty robust, what we call express semester, the semester that starts the first week in February, so that we give ourselves a little more time to get students sorted out at the front door. And I'll just have to touch base with Dr. Cooper to see if perhaps we have some prospect of that being a little bit larger than it's been at times past. So this is not the final number, but you're seeing the most. The trend is not going to be greatly different.
You see the percentages there for FDIC. Noting your point, though, we won't go through those. Dea, back to BI.
Now we want to look at the fall 2010-11 cohort retention. So we're actually going to look at a dashboard now that's focused specifically on that group of students. I want to keep in mind there's some historical piece of that. We've obviously been doing a lot here lately with the college experience last term and a lot of different initiatives here at the college. But for these students, it would only impact them one term out of the 6 terms that we're going to look at.
So this shows our fall 2010 cohort there in the blue far left bar chart. We had 3,647 students that were brand new to SPC in the fall 2010, and we're tracking them each term. And we have 35% of those students, or 1,292 of those students, are still with us this spring. We have graduated another 8%. And we are still posting the graduations from the December commencement, so that might go up a couple more percentages.
And now we have a similar view of the data when we talked before about enrollment status. So we're looking at the part-time, full-time status of a student. But I want to keep in mind, since we're looking at a retention dashboard, this is the full-time, part-time status as of the first term. And one anomaly we've noticed with our students is many start out full-time, and then beginning the second or third terms, they've moved into a part-time status. This impacts time to degree. This impacts how long they can make it through the program.
So in the fall 2010, first time in college cohort, we had 2,100 full-time students, and we have 795 of those still enrolled this spring, or 38%. Whereas we had just over 1,500 part-time students, and only 32% of those students are still enrolled. So we know that enrollment status, being full-time, tends to mean that the student's going to be more engaged, and the more engaged they are, the higher chance that they're going to be retained.
The next noteworthy area under the retention information is going to be course instructional modality. So the FTF in the first section that you see there is face-to-face. That would be traditional, what's sometimes called brick-and-mortar classrooms. To the right, you see online only. So those are students during that first term that were only enrolled in online courses. And then the center column represents online and face-to-face, as well as blended or hybrid courses. It's some students taking a combination of those or the blended courses.
The retention rate of those students that started in the fall of 2010 as face-to-face only is 35%. The middle stack of bar charts represents those that took a blended approach, where they took some brick and mortar, some online. The retention rate of that population is 36%. Those students that started with us in the fall of 2010 who only took online, we've retained at only 30%.
And then we're going to look at this same fall 2010 retention cohort for those that had financial aid offered at the beginning of the term versus those that did not.
All right, in that cohort, 2,320 students had financial aid. Of those students, this spring, 904 or 39% of those students are still with us. Whereas 1,325 started with us in that term, fall 2010, did not have financial aid, and only 29% of those students are with us. So 39% to 29%, that's pretty significant. Financial aid clearly makes a difference.
And then we have our demographic characteristics of those students. So the first one we're going to look at is race, ethnicity versus on the federal reporting categories.
The ranges of retention rates based on ethnicity range from a high of 49%, our Asian population, we've retained at 49%, to a low of our African American students, we've only retained 26% of the students that started with us in the fall of 2010. Hispanic Latino was at 36%, and Caucasian was at 37%.
What were they at in the previous year? You don't know that one?
We
No.
can get you that information. We don't have that today. We
Okay.
can step back and look at the 09 cohort and see what their percent was. I think there's another comparison we can look at. Again, this is historical data, so a lot of the initiatives we're doing today would have a very small impact on these students because it would only affect them for one term. But we can look at like fall to spring or fall to fall for some of our more recent cohorts and share that information.
Go to age. Okay, this slice looks at the age categories. In our 21 and under, we retained at 36%. They're more likely to be full-time and engaged. 22 to 25, we retained at 28%. The 26 to 35-year-olds, we retained at 38%. And the 36 and over, we retained at 37%.
And then our last view is student gender.
Of that original population or cohort of 3,647, 1,900 were female, about 1,600 were male. We've retained the females at 38%. We've retained the males at only 32%. So clearly we've got work to do with our male population.
Does retained include graduated?
No.
Okay, you need to
We have
start
about
adding that in.
We have about 8% that we've graduated at this point. We're still in the process of posting credit for that, so there'll still be another 3 weeks before we have fall graduations completed. And then spring, to look at spring as an actual term, we won't have that information until the summer. And then just to be how we were comparing our African American male cohort, we'll go ahead and pull that up as a filter on this view. And look at that comparison.
Okay, this is some alarming information. The female, African American females that started with us, we've retained at 30%. Keep in mind the overall retention rate is now at 35% this spring. The African American males, though, we've only retained at 19%. We've lost a lot of our African American males over the last 2.5 terms, or 2.5 years.
This is the group that has been hit hardest by the standards of progress in financial aid. These are the ones that, as you know, we are pedal to the metal, but I think we were too late. They had already started moving through the process, and then the standards of financial aid changed a year ago in December, and this December the standards were rigorously applied through the federal financial aid. We know that, the good news is we do a good job of delivering financial aid to students of color. The bad news is I don't think our support systems were in place at the right times to have them be successful. That's my reading.
I would definitely agree with that, but I would ask Dr. Law in the future if when we have these kind of reports, if we could have the numbers as well as kind of side-by-sides to see if there's a trend. I mean, and it may be a slight increase or a slight decrease, but there may be a trend, starting. So, but great job, gentlemen. Any other comments from any board members?
Thank you.
We'll stay on. This is close to our heart. People are working as hard as we can. They sometimes talk about courageous conversations. This is why we do this, though, is to be sure we know where our focus should be. So thank you for your support.
Well, one thing, Dr. Law, is we just put the systems in. Yeah. So, I mean, we got to allow the opportunity for them to work. And that's why I say if it's a 2% increase and we see it, and if they're side by side, we can see that. We see where the systems are starting to work. I totally agree. I think we were already down the road on some of these students, and we weren't going to save some of them. But I think the ones that we have started to meet with and the new systems that are in place, such as in-face orientation, touching a student one, and I've seen that work with Joe Leopold. He has been great. I actually seen it work. I mean, Joe, he calls these students. He's getting them in the lab and all those other things. So I think that contact that we're doing with these the students is really working. One student, in fact, that came to me and was kind of in a situation. Dr. Leopold worked with them and got them to change their major and got them on the right track just by getting them to the learning lab. And so I see some of that stuff working. So I have to say that I think we were a little behind the curve. We got the systems in place. That takes time, and it's going to take time for it to work too.
Appreciate that.
Any other board members? Good. Go ahead, Dr. Karaja.
Okay. Now we're going to look at some student success metrics. And the student success metrics are basically going to give us more of a perspective on the front end to look at. If we look at it from a lead perspective, this would be a lead measure. We're looking at things like graduation. So if they have good course success as students go through the programs, we know there's a higher probability they're going to be successful and complete and finish what they start. So the success rate measure is essentially positive grades, overall grades. So ABC grades, overall other grades. There's some nuances. I won't spend a lot of time with how we exclude pass-fail kinds of grading bases, and we exclude folks that are auditing courses. But for all intents and purposes, successful grades, overall grades. This is basically where we started. And you see we're referring these to benchmarks. This is the culmination of fall 11-12 and spring 11-12 rolled into one bucket. So overall we're looking at over 195,000 grades. Okay? And of those, our success rate for that time period was 73.9. And Dr. Law, set the tone and met with everybody and said from the executive perspective, we need to move the needle. The 73.9% needs to increase and get better for our students to be successful and finish what they start. For the provost, looked at each of the individual campuses and said, that's your individual benchmark, move the needle. And then for each of the deans, he actually focused on academic disciplines. And within business intelligence, we have one dashboard that focuses on nothing but campus level information for success rates, and a second that's academic org or discipline level for success rates. So everybody can go in there anytime during the term and see what we're doing and how we're doing it. This is the fall comparison. And again, we're just starting out a lot of these new initiatives with the college experience. We only have one term underway. But they're rather large projects in terms of large pilots and large scale, but we're moving that forward. We're down overall about 2.2% from where we looked at the fall 2011 success rates to the fall 2012 success rates. And then you have a breakdown by campus. And probably our best improvement at any of the campuses was the downtown Midtown campus, and they were up about 3.5%. Epicenter was down. They're down about 5.3%. One possible reason for that, as I mentioned before with enrollment, we have a lot more students here at Epicenter than we did in the past. So when we're making comparisons from fall 11 to 12, it's really different student populations that we're talking about. And then everything in between there is somewhat flat. There looks at a trend comparison. So there's the last 6 years. 6 years ago, our success rate overall for our courses was 72.9%. Today we're at 74.2%. So it's a tick upward when you look across the 6 time periods. However, you see there was an increase in the fall 08-09 time frame. That was also when we were doing a lot of things with our Title III grant around that same time. And then if we look at it by gender, it's pretty flat. Males up down 0.5, females down 0.1. You know, in terms of statistical variation, it's pretty insignificant. We look at our different groups. The one increase that we had is in our Black African American group. They were up 1.4% in terms of the overall success rate, and we had slight declines in our Asian students, white students, and then the Hispanic Latino was down 1.1%. And then we can look at some historical trend data. For fall 2007, we can see for a Black African American cohort, their success rate was 59.2%. It's also shown a reasonable increase in that time frame up to 62.6% in fall 2012, though we have a long way to go.
Significant though.
This is our age group breakdown, and we can see we had a slight upward movement in the 22 to 25-year-olds. It's not a big difference, but it is significant that it's that particular group because that's where we struggle the most. You can see their overall success rate for that age group is 71.1%, which is the lowest in fall 2011, and 71.7% 2012 fall, but also the lowest of the different groups. And then we can see the trend line there as well, and those are fairly flat when you look at them across. And then we can look at course instructional modality. The lowest, it's pretty flat, the lowest of which is independent study. This really only represents about 525 grades. So the independent study is really a very small segment of our population. And then we can focus specifically on first-time in college students, because that's first-time in college students and developmental students is where we spend a lot of our attention. On the first-time in college student comparison, you can see our largest group that we're down in, we're about 1.6 down overall, 2.9 for Asian students, Black, African American, and Hispanic around 2, and then for our white students 1.7. And when we look at our college readiness courses, so these are the developmental courses here at the college, and it's really the students that are testing into 2 or more of these areas that are really getting most of this initial focus on a lot of the college experience. On the pre-communications academic org, we have 3 levels of courses in each one of the different disciplines. We're up 3.7%. On the math, we're up 0.9%, and we have a slight dip there of 0.8% in the reading area. And this is some of the things that we're doing going forward. A lot of the focus, when we looked at the early alerts, were on specifically the developmental courses and our SLS 1101, or our student success courses. We're going to expand that this term. And Dr. Nicotero is doing a lot of work to expand this and open it up to all of our gateway courses. Now, by definition, a gateway course is a course that's near the beginning of a program, has very high enrollment, and relatively low success. Now, we want to get to a point where our gateway courses all have high success, but these are the courses that were identified by the Achieve the Dream group. So you can see this is the change in fall 2011 to fall 2012. We're now going to focus on this group over the spring. But there were some interesting results if you look at that group. If you look at the 2 computer courses, the CGS 1070 was up 17.4%, and the computer applications course, CGS 1100, was up 7.9%. Now, both of those you can take as a requirement as part of a gen ed requirement in the computer competency. You can either test out or take one of these 2 courses. Pretty significant growth over that time period. And in talking to the dean, a lot of that's about some restructuring that's done in the curriculum to better match those particular skill sets with the students. All right, some noteworthy observations. Benchmarks have been set. I mean, everybody has an initial benchmark and knows they need to move the needle. Fall success rates were similar to last fall. Some of our increasement areas were downtown Midtown was up 3.5%. Our Black African American cohort went up 1.4%. We showed an increase in our 22 to 25-year-olds, decrease in first-time in college students. First-time in college Hispanic students did go up 1.9%, and we showed strong increases in our gateway computer courses. Any questions I can answer?
Any questions, board members?
No.
Dr. Law, I would say, though, it looks like we have made an effort on minority students. That's gone up. And I appreciate your effort, as well as all the staff and folks that have worked on this. And we don't want to leave anybody behind. And I think that's where our focus has been, is to keep everybody on the same pace, but a job well done to everyone. Looks like downtown, Midtown, Dr. Gordon is making big strides, and also with our Hispanic students in Clearwater, with Dr. Vitito, that's where most of our Hispanic population is in the county. So it looks like we're in the areas where we're placed, we're doing a good job, and I think we're turning the corner, is what I'm trying to say, in terms of the minority students, and we don't want to leave any of our students behind. But we saw the drastic decrease in retention and other things over the years where they were coming in and going out as fast as they were going in. It looks like we had a superintendent here named Clayton Wilcox who used to say he wanted to see kids run in school as fast as they run out. And it looks like they're running in now, and we're keeping them there. So a job well done to you and staff.
I appreciate that. Mr. Chairman, I'm a marathon runner, and the thing you learn is get up every day and put your shoes on. Some days you have a really good day, some day not, but eventually you get to a training level. We've got a discipline, we've got a cadence, we've got a game plan. I wish the numbers were breakthrough, but they're not there yet. But we're going to stay on the game plan, and I appreciate the support.
It's 2 years. I mean, 4 years, if it's not higher, then we got a concern, but it's 2 years. We got to let the systems be in place. And, as a former college football player, when you got a game plan, you got to let it work,
That's right.
So you got to work it and keep working it and, tweak it here and there when it doesn't work some places. So, no, I totally agree.
Thank you. Appreciate
Dr. Law, just a question. A lot of really, really great data. When you analyze the data, what are you worrying about, and what are you doing about it?
Mr. Brett, in my heart of hearts, in the big picture, we're off by 10%. We need to move all the numbers up 10%. They're only going to get so good. You're never going to get a success rate at 95%. We're at 74%. I think we can break to 80 or 84%. Mr. Brett, the things that I worry about is students coming to us and getting away before we've had a chance to get our arms around them. With 34,000 students, that's a challenge. And we put the systems in place to engage students. I think we shared with you 6,700 students now have a learning plan. That's a long way from 34,000, but we thought we were going to have 3,500. Here, I think that the plan is sound, Mr. Brett. We're not quite, we don't know what the intersection of the plan is, how the students are accessing all the parts of the plan, how are they getting to the learning commons. So we can measure our students coming into the learning commons, and we can measure our students coming in to the career centers, and we can measure our students have a plan. We don't know if it's the same student, though. So we haven't put all the pieces together yet to have a highly functioning system that gives us early warning on the pieces. The participation of everybody has been good. The executive team is always going to be on board. They formulated the plan. We're still working to be sure. Well, I'll tell the anecdote. We had the early alert system, and it worked kind of good, and we learned some things. When we dissected what did we need to do, the people involved with engaging the students said, we need a little more training. We're finding things in the students that we have to be better prepared for. So now we have a training rigor for all of those. So, Mr. Brett, I think your support as a board to stick with the game plan, keep watching us with our measurement, asking the kinds of questions. I want to break through, but I think learning the patience of executing a big plan for a complex organization is what I'm learning. There's nothing wrong with what we're doing.
If I hear what you're saying, you're putting a lot of credence in the college experience and the learning plans, and you say we're at 6,700 right now. What do you see, just rough numbers, what number would you like to see like next year as far as the number of students that are plugged into that program?
Well, here's where we are. We to operationalize it, remember we called it the 5 by 180, 5 initiatives, 180 days. we felt that we had a good enough initiation, but we extended it for another 90 days. So starting tomorrow morning, we go right back to the metrics of those plans. So we have the call-in every Wednesday morning for each of those initiatives. We review the metrics for every one of those initiatives. You'd be invited to get on the call some morning. We're trying to get more people on the call rather than fewer, but you can see how we're measuring the success of each of those initiatives. I'd like to answer your question in about 60 days as to, I think we have a go, no go. If we're not ready to scale them up in August, then we're going to stay on it till we are ready to scale them up. But I think we could be at, I'm sure we'll be at 10,000 students or more by the fall semester. I'm quite sure in the learning plans. That's starting to get its own energy. The 6,700, half of those were students who they just found out the system was out there and started accessing it. They were not part of the pilot. So that piece is working. The face-to-face, we're reviewing that as we speak. The counseling piece needs a little more work. The early alert, I guess I'm not answering your question very well because we're on it though. I mean, there's only one dialogue. What changes the numbers? A lot of support. The provosts are doing a fabulous job with this, and we now have 146 people going through enhanced training to engage with students, finding out that life events are more troublesome to them than college events. Well, how are we plugging them into the community now, and those kinds of things. So,
thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Coraggio. We're on to item B, bid and expenditures. Maybe we can take up items B and C. Dr. Law, is there any reason we can't do that?
No, sir. B is information. C, and those are pretty standard. They're not high impact. They just require board action.
Yep. I hear a motion to accept items B and C.
So moved.
Second.
It's probably moving second. All signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposing. We'll move on to D, item D, which is the grants and restricted funds contract.
Mr. Chairman, both of those are fairly straightforward. We've done, and again, we took a couple minutes to initiate Mr. Oliver to the nature of the quick response training grants and the National Science, the FLATE grants.
Sure.
Both of these are nice grants, but they are not monumental.
Move approval.
Second.
It's properly moved and second. Any discussion? I'm sorry. All signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposing. We'll move on to item E, the capital outlay, maintenance and renovation construction portion of our meeting. Do you have any of these that you want to go through, Dr. Law? I just want to go, I'm going a little slower because I want to make sure Mr. Oliver doesn't have any questions. I don't.
No. Item 4 requires action, and we have a short presentation on that one,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Well, let me do this. Do we have a motion to accept item E, 1, 2, 3, and 4? Yeah, go ahead.
Except items one
Did you
through
say
four.
4, we have discussion?
Yeah, how about we
One and
do,
two.
yeah,
Well, I was going to wait till after the report for you all to vote on it.
yeah. I'd like to hear the report.
Okay.
Okay.
We're going to go to the report
Okay.
for item 4.
Item 4, the Tarpon Springs campus.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. When I can recall earlier in the year when this, when this first came up, the visual I got in my mind was they were discussing a large parcel of land, and I don't think any of us at the time had any real interest in that. But as we began to look at the details, it began looking like something that could benefit, could have more benefit than we initially realized. What you're looking at now is really the proposed diagram, and I think you can probably,
Well, unfortunately, we're over here, Doug.
Yeah. What you're looking at up in the upper right-hand corner is the piece of land that we're looking at And in fact, let me just walk around.
Please
the front.
do.
Is that
Yes.
all right? 'Cause I think I can.
Thank you.
From this. If you look right here in the corner, the green line, you see that is the existing land that is owned by the, I believe it is Standard Oil, the gas station. This piece, starting with the red line, is fairly narrow down alongside the property, and then slightly larger to the back. But this is the sort of L-shaped parcel that we're talking about, which comes to the 0.9 acres of land. So the first thing we realize, it's not
Doug, what do we currently own now? Standard Oil owns the green.
They own the corner.
Yeah, they own the corner, right?
They
That's my
own,
understanding,
right, this whole green corner, right?
Let me make this easy. They are asking us for a swath of land that's about as wide as this room on the backside and about half the width of the room on the south side. So that's the L-shaped piece goes around as wide as this room and half as wide as this room, nestled around the piece they already own.
Okay. The particular property, when you look at the L-shaped piece, is currently parking. And it is not the highest use area of parking since it's the furthest away from the building, and it's on an area that begins to elevate at that point. I'll show you another picture in just a minute. If you look then over, our first discussion was, well, how could we replace the parking if that was our primary concern? So they proposed then, this does not currently exist right here. They then proposed that in addition to the $400,000 for the property, that they would then invest in replacing the parking however we want to do it. This was just their initial drawing that would replace that parking. It would also enable us, right now we have a drainage problem because of the elevation of this going down, and so it would also allow us to fix some of the drainage problems that we have in that area. Further discussions, though, then kind of started revolving on maybe this is an opportunity to do something about the entrance there. Any of you who've driven in the main entrance right here know how narrow it is and kind of gets congested in there. So we have not finalized anything there. We have just had discussions, and they are willing, very amenable to discussing whatever we want to do. We thought we could make some improvements to that main entrance because, you know, that whole entrance section was developed prior to our purchasing of the property to the west, the Olympia building and so on. So we thought we could do something to bring it together a little bit better. What I want to show you then another picture, another issue that we realized. This is a picture taken from standing on 19. I don't know why he went out, how he got out the road, 19, but this is taken looking west at the gas station, the entrance, the 19 entrance into the gas station, and then you can see in the back, you can see the parts over to the left of of our campus. That area is at the top of a hill pretty much, and you can see how when you drive in, you go up, and that's what causes some of the drainage issues. But right now, with the land the way it is in the gas station, it pretty much blocks off the whole back view of that campus. So when we were talking about, okay, what are you going to do with that land if we agree to sell that L-shaped portion, one of the first things they're going to do is come in and they're going to bring that down about 4 to 5 feet. So it's more level with 19 and open the view up more of the total area. So it takes care of the view, and secondly, it's part of solving the drainage problem because then in the back it also slopes way down. So you would see a more flat, a lower, flatter profile looking off 19 and then viewing the campus. So those were really the three main things. One, it's an L-shaped parcel of land, not one, that's a large parcel somewhere that we may ultimately be building on. The second is the drainage issue, the parking replacement, and an opportunity to enhance our entrance into the campus. And then the third is simply by lowering this land, by grading it more level with 19, that it will open up more of the view. They'll be putting a building back behind where you see the building, the actual, what's called the Wawa store, if you're familiar with them, is behind where it currently is. So you'll still have an open view of the campus. With that,
What percentage is still developable? I mean,
of the entire Tarpon
of the entire
campus?
Tarpon, I mean, how much?
Oh, considerable.
I will,
Yeah. One thing that to remember is the Olympia building in the back where we just opened the new College of Education. About another third to half of that building is still basically just empty. I mean, that can be developed in and of itself. So,
Let me, Mr. Oliver, this is Comfleet Carney. He's the provost of our Tarpon Springs campus.
Thank you.
Yes, let me answer the first question first. The total acreage you have on the campus right now is over 103 acres, so 0.91 acres is a very small proportion. My colleague, former colleague, Mr. Bolaris, talked a lot about the vision, and I think the best vision we have for the campus right now is codified in a campus master plan that we developed starting in 2011. We finished it in early 2012. For that campus master plan, we hired one of the premier architects in the state of Florida, Warren Emo and Associates out of Tallahassee. We also hired an expert in demographics and projected growth for the entire county, doctor who had worked for the Bureau of Economic and Business Research at University of Florida. Projected the growth for our campus and for the county, and based on that, and one of the reasons, this is a real reason why I'm very supportive of this transaction, we can grow this campus over the next 20 years, more than double the student FTE. The official FTE in the year 2010 was 2,691. Our campus master plan projected out to the year 2035, we could accommodate 7,200 FTE, full-time equivalent students. So this cell will have no impact on our campus master plan that we have in place right now. And in fact, I think it will help the egress and ingress off of US 19. So I'm wholeheartedly in support of the transaction. Thank you.
Thank you.
any more comments from the board members?
Move approval.
I have one. So on the discussion about, I know we've negotiated the price. What they're willing to do on the drainage issues and the entrance issues, is that over and above the purchase price?
Yes,
or is
sir.
that
Yes.
included in?
No.
That's over and above,
Okay.
and in fact, I thought maybe that question would be asked, and I asked them, they've budgeted between $350,000 and $400,000 for that project. So we're really, when you look at the whole project, we're looking around $750,000 to $800,000.
So do we have that in writing also?
We will.
Yes. I mean, it's in the agreement, but it's not, it's only specific as to the parking replacement. What we want to do is refine that. But yes, I have that number. They
Okay.
emailed me the estimate, yes.
So are we prepared to approve this without that?
I was going to say, that's where I was
Part
going.
in
I had something
writing
else
and
I
agreed
wanted to add
to.
in there too, Mr. Oliver. I guess I would agree with Mr. Oliver. I think we need to have that in writing, Dr. Law.
Okay.
And also, I heard you, Mr. Billers. We never thought Sam's was going to go out of business up there, and they did. That if anything happens to this property, that we had the first right to buy it back or to move forward with some development of the college, so that if something happens, they don't work out, something goes wrong, we have those improvements, plus we have the opportunity to get the land back to develop as we wish moving forward, to buy it back or whatever.
Good. Can can we do this just so that they can move forward? They still have a lot of work to do. Can we approve in principle with the details to be brought back to the board next month so that they can continue in good faith dialogues? Is that,
I'm okay with that as long as the board members are okay with it.
you'll approve the
I'm fine
final
with that.
contract next month then?
Yeah. It's been properly moved, second.
Second.
All signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposing.
Thank you.
Move forward. Personnel agency billings. Administrative matters.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
Let me give you a quick rundown on the
Point of order, though. Mr. Chairman, we need to vote on the personnel report.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you want to do all of G at one. One is information. Your choice.
I
I'm
don't
sorry. I
care.
just
I
want to
mean,
show.
whatever you want to do.
By law, though,
Let's
we
vote
have
on
to
it.
vote
Yeah,
on that
that's-
one. Okay.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Doug is going down the financial
Right,
report.
right,
So
right.
why don't we just take up the whole item G?
Okay.
Do I have a motion to accept item G?
So moved.
Second.
So,
I'll signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None
Aye.
opposing, we'll move forward to the finance report.
Okay. I can honestly tell you that when you look at this chart, that the sky is not falling. When you look at the revenue, it does look like you're seeing a big drop there. This is a timing issue. Last year, we have a timing of our students who registered and then they don't pay by the deadline, and then we deregister them at a given point. Last year, that happened in January. The financial report you're looking at, of course, is through December 30th. This year, that occurred in December before the Christmas break. So that revenue that of those students that were registered then dropped out of the picture, but you will not see the same drop in January. So you'll see it level out. Revenue is down, though, and it is something that we've got some work to do by the end of the year to make sure we bring spending in line with that reduction. You can see, though, on the expense line that we're down about $600,000 already in spending. We've been able to manage that, but again, still have some work to do over the last 6 months. With that said, I'll be happy to answer any questions. I mentioned this was halfway through the year, and if you look at the percentages on the expense on the lower half of the finance report, you'll see that those are all 50% or under. So I think we're in good shape from that standpoint. It's the revenue and the spending issue we need to address.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, as we sit here today, we have about a $2 million revenue problem for this fiscal year, and we're already in process to address that. It's probably a $3 million problem on July 1st, though, because you have to take care of it in next year's budget, and there are some additional costs. We'll be on that. I'm waiting to see the governor's proposal, and we can do some, if we're going to get a little bit of help, we'll plan one way. If it's going to be all bad news, we'll plan a different way on the July 1 budget. But managing down the $2 million, it's a big number, but in a $145 million budget, it's not particularly onerous for us to do that. So we'll bring you the plan as to how we'll be in balance on June 30th, without a doubt.
All right. Okay. I think Jamel is going to come up and talk about the mission.
In the absence of the chair.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Jamel Connor. I'm the Associate Vice President of Planning, Budget, and Compliance. At the December workshop, we presented our proposal for our new mission, vision, and value statement. We're coming back to you at this board meeting for formal approval. As a quick overview, the board last reviewed the mission statement in 2009. SACS, as part of our accrediting agency, requires that the board does review our mission statement periodically. At St. Pete College, we do that every 3 years. We started our current review in May. We wanted first to look at our mission and work on streamlining that, as well as creating a new vision statement and also formalizing our values. There were 3 committees, the Academic Affairs Committee, the Student Support Committee, and the Systems Support Committee, that all worked to create a proposal. All 3 committees make up a group of over 75 individuals and represent faculty, students, career, administrative, and professional folks. At the core of all their discussions is that they really wanted to create mission, vision, and values that would drive the decisions across the organizations. All 3 committees presented their proposals to the Strategic Issues Council, which also has representation from all areas. And what we found was that they all had common themes. They just tended to use different wording and language. So at that point, we got a smaller group together from those committees that worked to coordinate and consolidate into one proposal that you see here today. So this was over a 6-month process that we worked on, but it really enabled us to have invaluable participation from a large group of individuals across the organization, representing all different areas, to bring their input, ideas, feedback, and build this one proposal together. I brought today a poster representation of our mission, vision, and values, and you also see it on your screen. And we really want to use this to display across all the campuses in the college in several different ways, using posters, plaques, note cards for folks to have on their desk, websites, all different ways to get the word out to our faculty and our staff, as well as students in our community. If you've got any questions.
I'll just reiterate what I said in the summer. Great job.
Thank you.
I can't decide whether it looks like a flower or a buzzsaw. Depending on the mood, I guess. I think it's great. As mentioned at the December, and Mr. Oliver, it's too bad you missed our little workshop in December. It was really good. We really get down into the nuts and bolts of a lot of this, so I think it's a great job. Move approval?
I think we already voted on that one. We're on the item H.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janelle. The academic calendar and calendar attachment.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, by law, we spend a lot of time working on a calendar. There are some guidelines from the state, but we must submit the calendar for approval by the Commissioner's office. You have that. I want to point out some really good work, though. This time next year, we found that we only had, I think, 3 days to get students enrolled after the break because of where New Year's falls and some other things. And we've requested a waiver to give ourselves more time to sort students out at the front door. And I find that to be a critical need for us. Helped us also then plan how we can do some good things at the end of the semester to realign with both the school district and USF if students are going there. So the waiver is highly beneficial to our students. I want to thank the Rich Mercadante and Vice President Ann Cooper for working through the details. So I'm happy to recommend the academic calendar to you, and then the credit course changes are pretty self-evident, and those I recommend to you as well.
Move to approve.
Move approval of item H, 1 and 2 and 3.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. Any discussion? All signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposing. I will now open the, I still have to open it, I think, and close it, right?
No, there's no public meeting.
All right,
You're all set.
And then they're down to the president's report.
I wanted to pass out one very brief statement and talk a little bit about the $10,000 baccalaureate degree. We are working through the details of such. There was a lengthy phone conference yesterday with the other colleges who are working on it. Here's the framework we're working. We'll bring it back to you for final approval, but the guidelines would be it's a bachelor's degree in technology management. We would expect that one of our big things will be to broaden the intake so that students bring some credit into the program. So we know we've got the dual enrollment in place. We can be much more aggressive in things like military and experience for prior learning that is really moving forward. So maybe, in fact, the governor's office is giving guidance that ought to be within about 15 credits at the front door. So we think that would work. On the tail end, our bachelor's programs already have a capstone experience that is a really high-quality piece of what we do, bringing everything together. What we'd like to do, again, because it's a pilot project, we think we can get industry support for that capstone initiative for the students. That would pay for perhaps as much as 6 credit hours at the tail end of the program. So if you make it all the way to the end, your incentive to finish goes way up at that point, and we can bring you in. And then the third related piece is the program will have an internship in the upper level, and we think, once again, that we can get industry support for part of the internship. So we think that a handful of the credits at the front door can be taken care of through prior learning. A handful of the credits at the back door can be taken care of through industry support with high active level learning kinds of strategies. On the call yesterday, though, some of the colleges, and I've asked our team to revisit this, have a really good plan, I think, for what would essentially be a flat rate. That is, charge for 12 hours and let students take 15 or 18 hours so that they can accelerate through the program. And we're investigating how that might work best for students if we could do something that looked like that. Good response from faculty, good response from others. Of course, we're working very closely with our friends in Tallahassee. You will probably get additional authority in tuition to do what we want to do. They're going to give the boards additional local authority to have the flexibility that we'll need to work this out. I will tell you, as soon as we get this one worked out, there's 2 or 3 more waiting to come through the door in similar ways, and I think we'll be back on your doorstep with some additional opportunities for students to go this way. If there, let me address quality concerns. It's the same faculty teaching that we have teaching now. It's the same students we have. There's a much tighter structure around the students. There's all of the learning resources, and then I think we've given even additional weight to both internships and the capstone experience. I think those are quality improvements rather than quality detriments in putting this together. Great work on the part of Dr. Cooper and Dr. Coraggio, along with Sharon Settlin. Dean Settlin, just stand up so the new board member can see you. Sharon is our Dean for Instructional Technology Programs, IT programs. Work in progress. I don't know what that, there's another meeting we're going to have one more touch base meeting, brief the governor on all this early in February, and then we'll go forward. So I'll try to keep you informed. If you have any concerns, if you hear anything, it's a work in progress, but we're doing some good work on this.
I'm glad to see you're requiring completion of the learning plan to be in this.
Well, in fact, Mr. Brett, what we want to do is use this as a vehicle to take the learning plan into the high schools so that the high school students who are interested in this line up with the dual enrollment while they're still in high school. So that's one of the net benefits to us, is to use that. So again, I appreciate that insight. Just on, you saw me touch base. If Catholics would say white smoke, I think we have a deal for the additional land in Midtown. Okay. And as you recall, the board authorized me to negotiate.
Scratch that off.
With the housing authority owns the facility we're in and an adjacent facility. We want to acquire those facilities to kind of solidify our footprint in Midtown. And it's the good faith negotiations. Part of it, though, is that HUD owns the land, so there's some flexibility, but apparently not in the areas we were seeking the flexibility. So we'll bring that to you next month. It's a done deal. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Dr. Law, very quickly, let me add 2 things. If in the future we could have, I've been getting a few families coming to me about the accommodations for students with disabilities.
Okay.
Can we have a report on that, maybe 1 month to talk about that? And then, Mr. Brett went through the process of when he hired you. He was talking about process. And at the end, he got a lot of folks that jumped on him. But he was able to say that this process was fair, equitable. It is what the board voted on, and it went the way the board said. And so Dr. Law and myself and Mr. Lang are going to have a meeting just to discuss the process that for Midtown. And it may or may not hold that process up. I don't want to say that it will, because the 1 or 2 times that I've met with Dr. Law about it, he has made me comfortable. But we're going to talk about the process and how it happened, and so we can bring back a clear understanding of what happened, whether what the board voted on was what was followed, that kind of stuff. So we'll just talk about that, and you'll know by the next meeting. Dr. Law can either make recommendations on moving forward, or we will figure out what we need to do if those concerns my concerns, or if any of you have concerns, you should get them to him about about the process, because I really can't speak to it until I know everything that happened in the process. So I just wanted to make that, put that in the public to make sure, and Dr. Law has no problem with that, nor does Mr. Lang, and nor do I. So I just want to make sure that we talk about it, because I will tell you, I am the last person that wants to hold up the Midtown project.
Everybody is being very cautious here.
Yes,
and I
we're
think we
being
ought to
cautious.
give ourselves a little bit of latitude
Yeah,
here.
exactly, exactly. And believe me, Dr. Law has been very gracious in that, so, and explaining things that, you know, and the other thing is, we have to remember, this is our first process without Susan Ryder, who has done this for years. We're making a lot of changes to this stuff on the fly, and it's not all bad, and, you know, we're gonna take some bumps and bruises, but we just didn't know, we didn't know which ones we're gonna take and which ones we're not, you know, that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to know, give you guys that, that bit of information, that we thank the staff and everybody that's been working on this, because this has been truly, I will tell you, I would not have wanted to be Dr. Law for the last 9 months with Midtown. And we've gone up, down, round and around and through through this process. So thank you. If there's no other comments?
As I mentioned in December, future agenda item, could we see marketing as
Yes.
we're seeing the
Yes.
decline in enrollment? I'd be curious to have a report on what we're doing on the business side of the house.
Yes, sir.
And marketing, communications, public relations, things of that nature.
We literally have some things that we're working on this week that would be shareable at next month, so we'll agenda that for you. Thank you.
Any comments from board members? Dr. Law?
I'm fine.
We're good?
Thank you.
All right. Adjourned, meeting's adjourned, and I'll see you February 19th at the Health Education Center.